Okay, so Roofman, which is the new film by Derek Cianfrance, who's the director of Blue Valentine, Place Beyond the Pines, Sound of Metal. This is co-written with Kurt Gunn. This is based on the true story. Now, I didn't know this story, but this is based on the true story of Jeffrey Manchester, who was a notorious spree robber who earned the nickname Roofman because his MO was to cut through the roof of buildings, specifically McDonald's, in the late 90s. And he'd hide in the toilets, and then when the shift workers arrived, he'd burst out, take the money from the safe, and then put them in the refrigerator, in the cooling thing, and then rob the cash registers. But do you remember that thing, Alias Smith and Jones? And there was the thing about, but in all the banks and trains they robbed, they never shot anyone. And this made our latter-day Robin Hoods very popular with everyone.
Hannibal Hayes and Kid Curry.
Hayes and Kid Curry, yeah, fine. So the thing here is that
So did you say that they were spree robbers?
He is a spree robber. That was the
What
term
is that?
that was. Well, it's an American term for a robbing spree.
I see.
A number of McDonald's. Yeah, it wasn't robbing sprees. He wasn't saying, I'm a bit short on sprees, I've got to go and rob some of them.
Fair
anyway,
enough.
so he sort of had this because would get them to would make sure they had coats because he didn't want them to be cold. He was then caught, imprisoned, and then escaped, and after escaping, holed up in a Toys R Us store where he effectively set up home behind one of the walls without anyone knowing. Now, none of this is a plot spoiler. Firstly, because it was a big news story, although I didn't know it. Secondly, because it all happens very early on in the film. And thirdly, it's all on the poster, because the poster says he robbed 45 McDonald's, escaped from prison, lived in Toys R Us for 6 months, and that's not even the craziest part. Here's a clip.
You gotta get your passport ready.
Okay, what are you thinking?
We're gonna need to change that hair before we take the photo.
I think we do a wig. It's good, right?
You got to be kidding me.
This is a panty dropper.
Oh my God. I'm not a bad guy.
Good morning, team.
I just made some bad choices.
The unmistakably likable voice of Channing Tatum, and you get from that the sort of the tone of the film. So the craziest part of the story that's referred to in that, that's not even the craziest part, is that having set himself up in Toys R Us, he then manages to find himself as part of the local church community and getting involved in a relationship with a woman who works at Toys R Us, but of course doesn't know that he's living there, played here by Kirsten Dunst. And then the story becomes even more unlikely. We have there's a whole thing with the church, and the pastor at the church is played by Ben Mendelsohn, playing completely against type as this kind of really nice, warm-hearted pastor. Anyway, the ensemble cast includes Juno Temple, Lakeith Stanfield, Tony Revolori, and the story is it's intriguing. As I said, I didn't know it. Did you know the story of Jeffrey Manchester, the Roofman?
I did not.
No. Okay. Well, it is apparently, after I'd seen the film, I went and looked up the actual story on Wiki, and the film is pretty close to what happened in real life. It is, I have to say, the perfect vehicle for Channing Tatum, because the real-life Jeffrey Manchester was an accomplished liar and con man, but it's clear from the real-life testimony, which you see at the end of the film, because they've got news footage at the end of the film of the real-life thing, that people found him really charming. And the thing about Channing Tatum is he's got charm to spare when it comes to being on screen. He is one of the most likable screen presences. And as a result of that, you end up rooting for this guy who is a con man and a liar and a cheat, despite the fact that what he's doing is irresponsible and indeed abusive, but he's kind of doing it in this way that sort of somehow seems to make emotional sense. Now, it really helps that Kirsten Dunst's character is completely believable as this single mum who sort of falls for this guy's charms because you believe in her and you believe in her reaction to him. You sort of piggyback onto that, and her character is really solidly good character without ever being two-dimensional. And I think, like I said, because she believes in him, we believe in him. There's a great performance too by Peter Dinklage as the Toys R Us boss, who tells his workers that if the public have a good Christmas, we have a good Christmas, and then keeps reminding them that 90% of the annual takings, are happening at Christmas. So no, you can't have any time off. He's very convincing as this kind of bureaucratic bullying boss. The score is by Christopher Bear, who with his counterpart in Grizzly Bear did Past Lives, and we talked about the score from Past Lives. I really enjoyed this. I thought it was, it works because you are sort of charmed by this central character, as I said, who's a pathological liar, very good liar, and a con man, and somebody who, despite everything that they're doing, because of the way that Channing Tatum is playing the character, you kind of go, yeah, I'll go with it. And I think that clip that we played you there is very kind of tonally correct in terms of the movie, but it does have depth, and it has that depth because of Kirsten Dunst.
So some of what you said there made it sound a bit like, how I think we both complained about gangster chic in previous years, how
yes.
being a gangster is actually a cool thing.
Yeah.
And very stylish. Actually, no, you're a criminal.
Yes.
So it's not falling for that. It's not making
I don't think
who
so.
Should be locked up a lovable rogue.
No, and he was locked up, is locked up. The thing is, because committed many crimes, and also as he himself says in the film, people get hurt in all of this stuff. But no, I don't think he does. I think one of the reasons that film is interesting is because there is all the way through that kind of weird tension between you really shouldn't find this guy charming, because what he's doing isn't charming at all,
right?
And yet you do, and I think that's kind of interesting.